Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Dillian Whyte climbs off the canvas to win a unanimous decision against Oscar Rivas in a good fight, competitive fight, but a clear unanimous decision to Dillian Whyte, 115, 112 on two cards and 116, 111 on another. This was a fight where Dillian Whyte utilized his boxing. It was by far and away a more disciplined boxing effort by Whyte. On the back of his jab, he was really controlling the fight, more disciplined, managing the range, and he made Oscar Rivas look a little bit one-dimensional. This started off strong for Oscar Rivas with him, I think, clearly taking the first round, landing the cleaner shots, the harder shots. He was having success with his jab early on, but Whyte started to make adjustments. He hurts Rivas in the second round, and it looked like it might be all over in that second round. He hits him with a beautiful straight right hand, but Rivas, as an experienced campaigner, is able to weather the storm, gets out of the round. But from this point, Whyte is starting to make adjustments. He's using his jab well, doubling it up at times. He's jabbing Rivas to the body. It was a bit quieter in some of those round 3 and round 4, but Dillian Whyte was giving Rivas more things to think about. He was using movement, using his feints, head movement a bit more. Just in general, he was trying to give Rivas things to think about. And behind his jab, which was key in this fight, I can't stress this enough, it really sort of kept Oscar Rivas at bay at times. He couldn't really close the distance as he would like sometimes, leading to some wild shots from Rivas. And at times you would have thought that Dillian Whyte was the boxer, not Oscar Rivas, who is a pretty noted technician in comparison to Dillian Whyte, who can often look a little bit wild and sloppy. And certainly we did see some elements of that in this fight. There are just occasions where Whyte would just throw a wild left hook, it would miss, he'd be off balance and look like he was almost about to fall over. The 9th round, that was when there was obviously some fits for Dillian Whyte fans. Oscar Rivas lands a beautiful uppercut. And it was against the grain too, because Dillian Whyte was controlling these rounds from about round 4 onwards pretty comfortably enough. There was maybe round 7 that I gave to Rivas, but apart from that, it was hard to give Oscar Rivas too many rounds because Whyte was just outworking him, landing the better shots to the body, the jabs as I mentioned. But against the grain, Rivas floors Dillian Whyte. And the commentary, initially, Adam Smith didn't want to actually call that as a knockdown, sort of said it was a pushdown, but clearly the replay showed the uppercut landed, and it was a case where Dillian Whyte was hurt. I thought it was a legitimate knockdown, and for a moment it looked like Dillian Whyte was going to be stopped. Oscar Rivas is all over Whyte, but Whyte himself, just as Rivas weathered the storm in round 2, he is able to weather the onslaught by Oscar Rivas and get out of that round, and he actually finished that round strong. And at that point, because Rivas had really tried to get him out of there, Rivas looked gassed, and for the rest of the fight, Rivas never seemed to catch a second wind. And I thought Dillian Whyte won the remainder of the rounds. In round 12, Oscar Rivas was really puffing, really fatigued. Unlike the fight with Bryant Jennings, just unable to put it on Dillian Whyte the same way, where he got Jennings out of there. He was unable to land anything of note. It was all just one punches instead of just being all over Whyte. And Dillian Whyte deserved the decision win. 115, 112, 115, 112, 116, 111. So obviously the judges had 8 rounds to 4 or 9 rounds to 3. I'm not mad at that scorecard at all. Dillian Whyte did win this fight, I think, relatively decisively on the back of his jab, and a very disciplined boxing effort. And in terms of what this means, he is now the WBC interim title holder. But not only that, and maybe more importantly, he is also the WBC mandatory challenger. That is confirmed by winning this fight against Oscar Rivas. And after the fight, his promoter Eddie Hearn said, look, he won't be sitting on this mandatory challenge, so we can take that. There is going to be another fight, probably towards the back end of 2019, probably a pay-per-view event in the UK, probably also at the O2. So Oscar Rivas was the caliber of opponent for this fight. I think similarly, if he's going to be having fights and putting that mandatory on the line, it's got to be against a significant opponent. And this was, on paper at least, a very close fight, and in spots in the fight it was, but Dillian Whyte using the height and the reach to manage Oscar Rivas, and at times made him look a little bit one-dimensional, and Rivas just wasn't able to make the adjustments to overcome what Dillian Whyte was doing. Every shot was thrown with a lot of power. There was no sort of mixing it up or soft, hard. It was all hard every single time. And some of that, especially as the fight wore on, because he was just fighting in spurts and trying to manage his gas tank, it gave Dillian Whyte opportunities to really just pepper Rivas with jabs and other shots. Body work was a factor in this fight too. A couple of occasions where Rivas really winced at shots that Whyte landed to the body. Whyte was trying to nail him with that left hook. He didn't quite have it on target in this fight. A couple landed, but not flush, not in the same sort of way as they did against Joseph Parker and Derek Chisora. But the right hand was certainly a good weapon for Dillian Whyte. Hurt Rivas early, and it could have all been over then, but Rivas, a wily veteran, as Whyte was too. I think we have to give Whyte a lot of credit for the way that he regrouped after being dropped relatively heavily in the 9th round. But who's next? I mean, it has to be, I guess, a top 20 opponent for Dillian Whyte. I don't think we'd expect anything less, and preferably someone in the top 15. Oscar Rivas, I think for most people, is a top 15 fighter. Dillian Whyte ranked him at number 8 in his top 10. I wasn't going to go that far, but if he does fight someone in the top 15, legit top 15, that would be a very good look, and obviously it's going to enhance his credentials ahead of his title shot with the WBC belt holder. What did you make of this performance by Dillian Whyte? I thought this was an impressive effort, a much stronger boxing performance from Dillian Whyte on the back of his jab. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.